Mike Fleischman along with Penn Kingsman head coach Cory Yeoman at the 28th Annual RRSN IFD Kickoff Classic. Coach, just a normal offseason, nothing really out of the ordinary happening at all. Of course, I want to start with when you guys get the team together, and a lot of stuff have happened. Man, people have been through a very different offseason than they have in other seasons. Tell me a bit about your message to the team and how you set the tone to get started on this year.
Well, everybody talks about number one, wanting to play football, but before that takes place, our number one thing for everybody was number one, we've got to be safe. We need to be safe. All players in this football team need to be safe. That's one. Every trainer, every manager on this team needs to remain safe and healthy. And next, everybody on this coaching staff needs to be safe and healthy. If we can do those things, then we've got a chance of getting goal number 2, which is playing football.
Coach, last year 6-5 season ended at Warsaw, and you're back to get started week 1 against Valparaiso. Taking a look at your offense, a lot of skill players return, some new faces on the offensive line. I want to talk a bit about the offense, especially in the context of offensive line play. That's where it all starts. Mm-hmm. Tell me some of the Penn Kingsman Gold Rush keys to good offensive line play.
Well, I think when you talk about offensive line, you talk about continuity, and that's a tough thing in these days that we're going through right now. I think there's no other position in the game that takes so much time to mold together, because it is such a one guy is so important to the next guy on both sides of him. So a center and a guard being able to work together, a guard and a tackle being able to work together, a tackle and a tight end being able to work together, because there's so many combination blocks and there's so many things that you have to do with the other person that relies on your buddy to the left and the right of you.
Speaking of guys who are right next to each other, Nick Favilla is going to be lining up back at his wide receiver position. He took a lot of snaps last season. What are some of the benefits that brings to you, a guy who has now played multiple positions? Maybe he has a greater conception of the game. What are some of the things you're looking for, not only from Nick, but just from all of your offensive returners? What can they do with leadership and understanding the game that maybe they couldn't have done as underclassmen?
Well, first of all, Nick's an outstanding leader. Let's start there. He's a great competitor. He's a great athlete, and he has, the skills that he showed last year, being able to play quarterback, never playing quarterback before switching, in mid-season, and being able to just learn how to play quarterback and do that. That's at this level against the schedule we play. That's a tough task for anybody to jump in and do. And he did a great job, and he molded it and did it the way and used his attributes and did a great job. But I think that will be a positive, because if you take a look at him reading, have to read defenses and looking at he can use those same things and those same skills at the wide receiver position and understand that as well too. So,
tell me a bit about what Ron Paulus has had to go through after going out after the LaPorte game week 2 of last season. Tell me a bit about his rehab and what he's been doing both with you guys and away from the team to get ready to play football
that's
again.
The thing. Everybody knows he can spin the football. He can throw it. But what people don't know about Ron, he's a great leader. He's a great worker. He is no stranger to the weight room. He likes to work out. He's in there, and the offensive line sees that. The running backs see that. The wide receivers and the guys in the defense see that. He is a tireless worker. He's not scared to do extra things to get himself ready to go. And he's a great encourager, and he's a positive influence on this football team. He's an outstanding leader for us.
We talked to some of your defensive guys as we flip over to that side. Talked to Zach, talked to Joe Apata as well, just before they sat down with Paul over there. Tell me a bit about how they've come in and some of the steps that the defense is looking to take this year as underclassmen progress to upperclassmen and new guys bring in. What are some of the focuses, and what are these new leaders bringing to the team?
Well, when you talk about great team defenses, I think great team defense is knowing where your help is and being able to fit things properly, whether it's fitting a run play or it's fitting a pass play or fitting a route. I think that's important. So I think knowing, number one, knowing where your buddies are going to be, and 2, trusting that they're going to be there. And then once you get to that point and then you start playing fast and physical, I think great things happen for defenses.
And we can't end this conversation without talking a bit about special teams, the special forces. I saw a lot of block kicks, a lot of pressure in the backfield after snaps for opposing teams trying to run their kicking plays against you guys. Talk a bit about the work that the special forces does and the coaching staff there and how they're getting those guys ready.
Well, we've always spent a lot of time on our special team play, and whether it's our return game or our coverage game or our block points. I think special teams have been huge. You look up there and you go across the stadium, you see all those state champions, state runner-ups, and you think about big special teams that had happened during the course of that season that flipped the game one way to the other. And I think, all great teams have to have great special teams, and that's been the trademark for our great championship teams in the past.
Coach, week 1 kickoff against Valparaiso is coming up in just over a week. What does the team need to do between now and then to be ready for it?
Well, an outstanding team. They're loaded with a bunch of those guys back, and even losing a multiple-year starter quarterback to get a move in from Lafayette, Jeff, who's been an all-state quarterback as well too. Those 2 defensive linemen, are just special young men, and it's going to be a heck of a challenge. But again, that's why they're there where we're at. I mean, that's why we're playing them first, and it's going to help you get better. And the way the tournament's set up, and I think the big thing is to get your guys used to playing in big games and getting those types of atmospheres and playing up against opponents like that. I think that helps prepare you for the Northern Indiana Conference, which is going to be loaded again this year, and I think it's going to help us for the tournament.
Coach, one last question I'm going to ask everyone that comes through my my little video stand here this question tonight. What is it specifically about football that can help prepare these young men for the challenges that are going to face them outside of high school and in the greater world?
Well, you know what, and we talked about that today. We had a captain's meeting, this morning before we started practice, and a lot of things we talk about as coaches has a direct correlation to how you're going to live your life and what kind of man you're going to be and what kind of husband you're going to be and what kind of leader in the community you're going to be, and I'd like to say everything's going to be smooth and it's going to be easy and nothing bad's ever going to happen, but that wouldn't be true. I mean, we're all going to have adversity in our life, and it's not so much the adversity that happens to us, but it's how we respond to that, and that's what we want to try to get these guys ready for.
Coach Cory Yeoman, great talking with you, and hope to see you next week Friday.
Thanks, Mike.